Hi, and welcome to the castle. So, today I've got a poem for you, a poem in Anglo-Saxon. It's called The Wanderer. Tolkien fans out there may recognize it, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Before I actually perform the piece, I won't perform all of it. The original one's about 115 lines, which I won't be doing all of, but we will do the good parts, I promise. Yes, so before all this, I want to talk a bit about Anglo-Saxon poetry, the instruments that were used, like this one behind me, and who the poets were. So Anglo-Saxon poetry is follows a very interesting structure. It's four stressed lines with a break between the second and third, and is very alliterative and very metaphorical. It's poetic, we would say. For example, the word that they use for ocean is the whale's road, and also, recognizing maybe from Tolkien, is Yang is the reference to this world being called Middle Earth or the Middle Earth. Or that being a reference to this place that we're in right now is transitory. We're not here for a very long time. So this is just a stop on the way, basically, which ties very well into the themes with the Wanderer. Or so the poets that we know of are there's at least 12 poets that we know the names of from Anglo-Saxon times, four of which have biographies because they were either important people or saints or clerical figures. For example, King Alfred, you might have heard of him. There's also the Venerable Bede, which funny, I thought for the longest time when people were quoting the Venerable Bede or talking about the Venerable Bede, I thought they were referring to some kind of manuscript or religious scroll. Well, that might be called a bead, or maybe to a rosary prayer. I didn't know it was a person until I started doing my research on this. But there's the Venerable Bede and Saint Sedman and Sinwulf. Now Saint Sedman is credited as having the oldest poem written and composed in Old English. It's called Hymn to Creation. The story goes that Sedman was a lay brother for the Abbey of Whitby. Excuse me, Whitby. Where did that come from? I know British people will drag me for that, but anyway, Sedman was a lay brother for the Abbey of Whitby, hang under the abbess Saint Hild or Saint Hilda. So he's a cowherd, takes care of the cows, and the story goes that because he's out with the cattle all day, he has no idea how to sing, how to compose, or play an instrument. Now, one day the monks are having a feast, and after dinner, they're passing the harp around, entertaining each other with songs and verses and things like that, because that was your entertainment. What else are you going to do when besides sit around and talk? And I've been on reenactments before, and I tell you, there is no better part of the day than when the day's over, you're sitting around the fire, someone takes out a bottle, and someone takes out an instrument, and you just all start singing together. It is some of the best times, I can tell you. But continuing with the story, when the harp comes to Sedman, he doesn't know how to sing, and he's so embarrassed by this that he runs back out to go be with the cattle. So that night, when he falls asleep, he has a dream. And he dreams that someone, it doesn't say who it is, as he hears a voice saying, "Sing for me." And Sedman, he's going, "Well, why? I can't sing. I'm out here with the cattle. I have no idea how to compose a verse." And the voice says to him, compose a verse about creation. Sing a song of creation for me. And Sedman composes a 4 or 9 line hymn called the Hymn to Creation. He wakes up the next morning, remembers all of the dream, even the verse he composed, and goes to the abbess. Yes, now Hilda, as she's sometimes known, sees this as a divine gift, and gives him a new commission. He is now to be a poet for the abbey, writing religious music, and he becomes the best poet and singer in all of the Isle of Britain. Now, the poem I'm doing, called The Wanderer, it was written down in the late 10th century in the Exeter Book, one of those medieval manuscripts I talked about before. The language can be recognized, and it can date the poem a little bit further. For example, some of the Nordic influenced words that are in there, because English pulls in a lot of Nordic phrases such as ill, window, and other things like that. Those are all Nordic words that you'll still find. And I've got one written down here that does appear in the poem. For this means ice cold. The Nordic word for it is uh, hrimkaldir, and the Old English word hrimhimsilad. And so you can see the mashup right there. The original poem, about 115 lines. The author is unknown. It's completely anonymous. No one even knows who compiled these books. The plot of The Wanderer is about a warrior who is in exile. He has lost his lord, the person he used to fight for, the person he was sworn to, and now he is, as he says, wandering the paths of exile on a cold ocean. When we think about, and when I think about how that, part of it is a medieval mindset, early medieval mindset, where being in exile, literally being outside of the community, was not a thing you really wanted to happen to you. You're living in a time where you literally need the community to survive. People knew who each other, and a lot of times you didn't travel much. I wouldn't say more than 10 miles sometimes of where you were born. So if you're wandering these paths of exile, no one knows you. It's very unlikely that you're going to get aid outside of a religious institution. And you need to find some place that's going to accept you, or you're probably not going to survive very long. Or you're going to, or perhaps go rogue and you go off Vikinger, because that's what a Viking is. It's a verb, not a noun. Um, and when we get to Tolkien, the tone of the poem is about uh, past glories that are fading. He's very sadly remembering all of this glory and bright shininess that was all around him once when he was under his lord, this great place that is now just a memory following into decay, which is what Tolkien wrote down in his lament for the Rohirrim. A great kingdom, once proud and shining, now fallen into ruin. Now with performing the piece, it's interesting because we don't have a set like book of instructions of how they would do this. We've got later, I think, from the Middle Ages, as when people would sing the romances and things like that. They would be accompanied by stringed instruments. It would be a combination of reciting, singing, and music. My lyre right here. This is called a Trossingen lyre, named after the town it was dug up in Trossingen, Germany. This is a 6th century design, what we can tell. It's not an exact recreation, and except for the shape, 6 strings, etc. The original was very beautifully decorated, it had very intricate knotwork carved all down the legs here, and all filled up, beautiful carving, beautiful paintings, all of it. So this was not cheap, or at least the original wasn't. Well, neither is this. This was actually made for me by an artisan in the Ukraine, and a very good instrument it is too. I'll put a link to his shop down below. Oh, I believe he just started taking orders again. And as you may have noticed, I said Germany, not Britain. This is a Germanic lyre. There is an example of a lyre dug up in Sutton Hoo, dated to about the 7th century, but it does follow this basic design. The big difference being it does not have this taper right here. The Sutton Hoo harp is just very round, almost like one big oval shape, but still 6 strings, big sound hole, because you're living in a time where there is my microphone on? Yes. And you're living in a time where there is no sound amplification outside how far you can project your voice and how loud you can make your instrument. So this great big sound hole makes it very loud. It's a very tall harp. Now, when you think about performance with the reciting, like I said, mix of singing, reciting, and musical accompaniment. So, who would be doing this? And how do you do it? Well, the best way I can describe is I am sure showbiz is as fickle then as it is now. Now, that's why so many of us are on YouTube. But anyway, hey, we have people that were called sculps, SCOP. Eh? These were commissioned artists. They were the ones writing the epics, the poets, the poems, the riddles, things like that, and performing in noble courts, arts, arts, and they would be the ones making the money, basically. Then lower down the scale, you have gleemen, who were performance artists. There's maybe more like traveling bards, I don't know, but they would be the ones that would perform rather than compose. And also, just domestically, you'd sing, you'd tell stories all the time. I mean, what else is there to do on a long winter's night? I can tell you that. I remember times when the power would go out. Nothing to do, so you gotta sit around and chat and find something to fill that time up with. And so, on that note, pardon the pun, this is The Wanderer.
Oft im an hage, ara gibiteth, meltudes milza, veo de atmut shara, jan langolade, langa shulade, heren mid hondrum, hier cha da sa, wandam wakalasta, wel beth ful aran. Swakweth stapa, elfith a yimen bil, wathra a waseitha, wine a maga, hara. Say, ne theo, threes ne whale's tail, wista theota, and this der chalif, dapa yin chalef, fraud and felleth, far off yeoman, where slikta worn, and this ward aquith. Hakwa meag, hakwa mago, hakwa magifa, hakwam simbla yesetu, hawa sindom sledaramas, alla beth erketh blune, ar la burnwiga, alla theonis. Who say thragya wat ginap underneath him, swaheno nora. Standeth nu on lasta, leovara dugatha. Well, what room hail, worm cliffa. Ero la fernoma, ashala drutha. Wapan, wal, ala gifthru. On this stand, and a hetha trum, stormas kinstha. Here from hell sinne, heros on bithne, where chas woman, theo now one kulneth, me pesand ushua, hera hell father halla thurum on du undram. Alice fellig eldrum litcha, on winthay weathram yeshaft, where all under heaven helbith fetheth lane, helbith friend lane, helbith monlande, helbith maglande, eldis elden yislev, eldel veras. Swake snutar on Monday, he sat him sunder at Ruha, till besate is Trua el Yedith. Ne shall know where his two untor reachene, bearing of his breastum a Keithen. Ne thea hi ara than buchune, ero midlane yi feroman, with the thum the hiram ara sicheth. For frey du Father on heaven, there us seo fastnastuth.
Well, I hope you liked that. If you did, feel free to hop a like below. And if you want to see more Anglo-Saxon, Viking age literature, bardic arts, law, things like that, drop a comment below about it. I want to give a really big thanks to Varkus for letting me shoot in their tiny longhouse. Built a little trailer so they can take it to different events. It was really cool. I'll post pictures and a link below for them. So, bye for now.